Guys, we're back with Bloodstock TV, and I have been waiting the longest time to say this. I am sitting here with fucking Forbidden.
Nice.
Craig and Chris. Welcome to the Craig and Chris show. Awesome to have you guys. Oh my God, Thanks
for having us.
Thank you today. Absolutely killing it. By far, one of the most talked about thrash metal reunion shows or bands, whatever way you want to label it. Forbidden are fucking back, and I couldn't be happier, as with hundreds of thousands of people all around the world. Just talk me through the journey of just when, I know you kind of said people were saying it to you, but then you had this moment where you said, I just got to do this.
Well, one of the main people that was saying it, wasn't even trying to get the gig, was him. And it's, Chris and
I are grooming you.
Well, Chris and I have been great friends for a long time. We played music in different things, and we did the Bay Area Interthrashional thing, and that's like herding cats of very talented cats, but herding them all together. And we, but you don't usually, for rehearsals, you don't have everyone around because they're in this country, they're on tour.
It's like 25 members.
Yeah. It was even more for the particular show. But for the first rehearsals, for the COVID year that got canceled in 2021, we really needed to have a singer come in, and he suggested Norman. I'm like, oh yeah, like Norm's great. But I've been watching Norm from a distance for a long time. I remember Magica and there's other bands he was in, and I always knew he was a really good professional singer, but I never thought Russ could ever be replaced. And I still don't think we're replacing Russ now. We have Norman in the band now. Yeah. And it's, it's just one of those long moving things. It took multiple times playing with him, but one of the first things that happened is no one plays their own song in Area Interthrashional. Nobody.
Okay.
There's like a caveat. If you're in Violence, you got to play a Death Angel song. If you're in Testament, you got to play a Forbidden song, right?
Yeah.
Which is very cool because it mixes the whole genre together,
of course,
right?
Yeah. It forces people out of their comfort zone.
And not everyone,
For sure.
and not everyone's cool with that. But that's besides the point. So needing a singer, we had him come in, and then I said, well, because we had guys, let me see, who was it? We had Will Carroll that was going to be on drums for the Forbidden song. John Campbell from Lamb of God was going to play bass. Mike DeLeon guitar. Who else? Who else played guitar on that? It was somebody else really good.
You should do like the family tree almost,
Yeah,
Yeah, it would go black.
But
It would just be like...
I'm telling you the longest story. So basically, I said, let's just play the song since we're all here.
Yeah.
And Norm's like, okay. And I just
in case somebody backed out or didn't show or whatever.
Yeah. We'll just play it. But we started playing the song, and I looked around before he started singing. I'm like, oh, yeah, we're all here. This was the Omega Wave lineup. It was Mark Hernandez, it was Steve Smythe, and Matt and myself. I'm all, that already sounds good. I haven't played this song in 10, 12 years. And then he started singing, and I went, oh. And then fucking the door opens, and it's Chris looking through the door all, what the fuck? And he just slowly closes it again. And I listened to the whole song, and the thing that struck me, and I said, Russ can't be replaced. The thing that struck me immediately is he didn't try to sound like Russ. Right. He sounded like Norman.
Yeah.
And he sounded confident, and he had tons of confidence. Not overconfidence, not cocky. Just
sure of what he's doing.
He's assured, self-assured.
Well, like I've been seeing Norm play clubs with like 15 people, and he's playing from the stage like there's 40,000 there.
Yeah.
And I just always respected that. It was like, he's playing from the 50 people in the room to the bartender, and just a pro. But he had never really played in front of more than 1,000 people.
Wow. Well, he has now.
Yeah.
And I love part of this story because really, look, as well as Forbidden, I mean, the Bay Area has always been, it's a family thing, and it always has been with so many bands. I think it's an amazing thing to see, and I've spoken to many of the bands. I talked to Chuck earlier this week about it, and
Chuck was watching our entire set.
Yeah. But
focused, and he's probably one of our biggest critics because he's Russ's friend, fan.
Yeah.
I mean that's where the rest of the story, we kind of loop on the story. So it wasn't a seller that day. It was when we did the next time around of the Interthrashional. We needed to have him come in, and I had him sing a bunch of songs, but I had him do Chalice of Blood with Warbringer. And the rehearsal, when they started, everyone in the room turned and looked at me. They're like, "Oh,
you got to do this."
No, it wasn't even that. I'm a long sell. Like it took me a long time. But that moment, the night after, when everyone's looking at me from the stage, like, "Are you seeing this?" I'm like, "I'm seeing it." It took something else. Death Angel asked to do some Christmas shows with them. I said, maybe. Then Alcatraz said, will you come and play and take Anthrax's spot next year? Because they had to cancel. And then I remember sitting.
Was the universe just saying.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Come on.
I was sitting in my chair in my room, and I pushed it back from my computer, and I said, I'm going to call Tim right now because the universe is telling me something. And that's when the phone call started. And, I had made my mind up before I told Norman that I'm going to do it. Yeah. Because I knew he would. I had pretty good indication that when he said it before, right? I mean, he'd be like, if you ever want to, and he was about to retire. We pulled him right out of retirement.
Wow. and what I love about this as well is Russell gave his blessing.
Yeah, he did.
Which is, I just think it's so cool, man. It's just so passing the gauntlet on and just saying, go for it and full support. That's what I mean about that Bay Area family kind of spirit, so cool.
Russ changed his entire life, and he's living a sober life now, doing a different thing, and he just really... He felt bad because with the alcohol and everything he was going through, he wasn't being able to give his best. Yeah. So he was like, as soon as he heard it was Norman, he's like, cool. That guy's good. I
called the guy Baby Russ. That was the thing he would say from the stage when he'd see him in the crowd.
Yeah. Or Little Russ.
It's Little Russ.
Little Russ. Yeah, it happened a lot.
Fucking hell, man.
And for me, it was weird because, like he had said, I've been bugging him, like, you're leaving the fans hanging, you're leaving money on the table. Every significant thrash band is having colossal runs. Get it back together. But I'm thinking Steve Jacobs or Mark Hernandez or, get it going. And then, he had to make the proper calls. Like, you got to reach out to Paul, You got to, it's respect given, right?
Yeah,
but then he calls me up and he's like, all right, so I think I'm going to do it. And I was like, that's great. He's like, and you're the guy. And I was like, what?
Well, first I said, are you interested? And then we both kind of agreed, well, maybe we'll push our friendship to, we'll do the boneless ones at the same time. But
we were in the boneless ones together at that point.
The thing about Forbidden is I know we weren't big, but we influenced a lot of the influencers. So I can call up somebody and I talked to really great drummers. They all were interested in doing it. But I was like, why am I talking to any of them? This dude.
You're the dude.
Yeah. And then I said, I called him one last time. I said, are you sure you don't want to do this? Because I'm going to go on tour. Or are you going to be fucking mad if I'm like making records and, like doing it all over again? And then that was the last straw, So it became.
So they got you.
Yeah.
They got you.
And a colossal challenge, Yeah. I mean, I'm going up against Bostaff, Jacobs, Hernandez.
Yeah.
Hoagland even.
Hoagland as a stand, and then the Sasha, you know what I mean, and everything. So it was like, it's a different style for me.
Absolutely.
It's very staccato, very on the guitar, thing, and I'm more loosey goosey, kind of tribal, just let it fly.
But I think because it's a challenge, there's more focus.
Oh, it's made me a better drummer. It's made me a better drummer.
The rewards are unreal. Just jumping forward a little bit, like Steve obviously parted ways there. He had stuff to do in his life, and Dan is now with you from Voivod. Tell me very briefly how that came about. Was that just an instant pick up the phone? And was it the first person that came into mind? Or?
He was the first person.
Right.
I said it to him right away. And then, of course, it's like, well, he's going to be really busy. These are all potential things. But I reached out to 3 great players, and Dan was the one and trust me, they were all great. I don't know if they all want their names being mentioned or not, but they all wanted to do it. But Dan was the last one to get back a hold of me. But he said immediately, he's like, if I can work the time. Because I saw Dan introduced himself to me with a guitar in his hand in Japan when we played. And he's all, is this the right way to play Infinite? And he played it perfectly with the harmonies.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, no one ever gets their songs right. There's always
I've seen guitar players on buses and stuff do this to Craig.
Right.
They're like, how do you do the Isoglass thing or, whatever. It's kind of weird. I don't see a lot of other guitar players get that. I have seen it happen to Craig. And, it's always like, no, check it, and they're like, oh, and you see the light bulb go over their head, like, oh, okay, I've got it. So, like he was saying, the influences of the influencers kind of thing, and I think the crazy timing for the band is that from the outside looking in, Forbidden is here, and then they're gone, and then they're back, and then they're gone, and there's like this phantom.
It feels really different now, though.
It does.
It really, really does. It just feels that this is a massive, I don't want to say, a proper second coming, if you like, what I mean? Whatever was happening prior to that, the momentum and everything else I can see around, there is a tremendous feel about this.
It's a proper bloody rebirth.
There you go.
And we always had a sense of the perfect timing thing, but it was funny, in Chile, we were hanging with Merciful Fate backstage, and, he has worked with Hank. Demonica, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of had a little quiet moment. And Hank says, I think the timing is perfect for
You do the
Forbidden
accent,
to be
That's
back,
perfect,
yeah?
it's perfect for Forbidden right now, I think.
Perfect
Yeah.
for Forbidden, yeah? So it was cool because it kind of said it.
Blessing from the
Right,
man himself.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, that's how I ever worked with Hank, because he liked Forbidden a lot. He considered Forbidden the Bay Area Merciful Fate because we were odd, we had real singing. There was a lot of like symmetry between us. So
Sure,
he was already a fan, and it was a huge honor.
But I think this is all like it's the serendipity of all of these things, these people, those things happening, the opportunities that were placed. It's like I said at the start, I'm not a spiritual person, but it's like the universe was saying, you have got to do this,
Yeah.
But look, tell me about, and I've been watching interviews you've been doing about where you're at with. There is an album coming, right?
Oh, yeah.
And obviously you're working hard on it. You're doing these festivals in the
We're
summer.
fucking trying, but these festivals keep coming up and fucking up all our time.
When are we looking at? It's going to be 2025, right? For sure.
Yeah. There's a plan. It'll push back a few months, but it's pretty much been everything's laying out the way I was hoping it would.
So the songs are there.
Well, we're writing them, and I've got the beginnings for a lot of them. And when I say beginnings, I mean they're structured, and we just need to work out all the parts for everybody
They need
else.
to be skinned. They're skeletons and strong.
Some are more put together than others, but that's the way Forbidden's always been. And and I just want to gel for the next 6 months, and then get in the studio and nail it. And we're going to release a couple songs at the beginning of the year on our own,
early next year.
On our own. We don't have a record label. I don't want a record label yet.
Right.
I have an opportunity to finally do this with no monkey.
It's like a clean slate.
It's a very clean slate.
Yes.
And we're a better band than we were at any point recently because of all the things that have kind of brought us together. Like you said, it feels different.
Yeah.
And that's no knock on anyone, but from the top down with Russ going through what he went through, that's kind of the stigma that stayed on us for a while.
Yeah.
He wasn't feeling 100%. So you have Norm who's up there is like, he's not trying to be anybody. And there's just a whole positive
but also from a business, like the mechanics of how this industry works, the knowledge that you have now as opposed to what 20 years ago, or when Forbidden Evil came out and Twisted to Deform, et cetera, the way this fucking business works now.
Yes, well,
you can choose we're going to do this on our own to a point until something's on the table that is absolutely airtight.
And it's important. It's important to say, Oran, that we have no delusions of grandeur either. I think that we understand more than anybody how much the industry has changed. So it's not really about record sales but records are selling. You want to make records, right? You don't necessarily want to make all the CDs anymore. It's like MP3s and fucking records, and that's in a way that's better because you can do more with your art. But there's a certain way. I don't want to get caught in the machine, and the machine can chew you up before you get creative. You can get stunted creatively if you agree too quickly, because we've been approached already. And I'm like, not yet. We're not going to go there yet. And it's important for us to feel like we got our album done and artistically put together, lyrically. No one needs to fucking tell us how to do it.
Yeah.
And I feel good about our chances of at least reigniting and kind of like reforging our path again, because there is a spot for us, because we got all our Bay Area brothers, but we're that band. We're a little more heavy metal, a little more melodic. We do things a little different, so we have our own little spot. And I hope to have it all land where it's supposed to.
It just sounds like it is. The plan is coming together, and God knows where you're going to be this time next year with the album pretty much together. You can shop it around or not, but you're in control, which is what is different this time around. You're 100% in control. With great friends and people that you all love being around, great people behind you, everything. So that is the making of a very, very, impenetrable, organized machine.
And, coming back, sometimes when bands come back, they don't get the blessing of really putting it in the frying pan. From Alcatraz on, we've really had a chance to gauge, is this even a thing for this group, these kids, this time, these people? Do the OGs approve that, and it's been just a great reception. And that's really what made us say, okay, well, now it's got to be done right. And like you said, to be in a control seat as opposed to squished into a thing, we feel like, another thing, look, so Craig and I haven't been stuck in a grind label after, label or record cycle after record cycle, we've kind of watched all of our peers and everybody in that. So we have this little bit of an outside view of it. Like, don't want to do that, don't want to be there. So we now know the touchstones that we want to either skip or leap and try to leap over, So we're feeling pretty stoked about our position, and
so you should be.
And if we're pleasing the fans, like, dude, it's about entertainment. These kids are spending hard-earned entertainment dollar, and we want to bring that part of it, and we also want to find value in whoever wants to bring us on potentially to see that value as well.
Right.
This isn't about a you thing; it's a fucking them thing.
Yeah.
This has to be presented to the people.
Yeah.
We really feel strongly about that.
We do, and I think another thing we have a great overview of is really how to execute stylistically what's going to fucking resonate this time, because people don't usually. I don't know if you noticed tonight, but the entire set was played in the E.
No,
that's the way we wrote it.
You're right.
Nobody does that. Nobody, just a little bit, and we did it too. Forbidden tuned down a half step. Ooh, edgy. Like 1994, we went down a half step. But in Omega Wave, like a lot of it was written in drop C sharp, and that's fine. I like those levels, but I think a lot of this record is going to be there's a bounce to that music. There's a fucking excitement, because when we were writing that shit, it was heavy enough. And now it's like, we could be heavier if it tunes lower. And that worked for a lot of people for years, and that's great. But I think Forbidden needs to be both. I think we need to have songs that are right up on your eyeballs and other ones that could fucking punch you,
Right in the plums.
Yeah, right in the plums. Like fucking snap your tweener, But it's a great overview that we didn't have before. And the guys that are in the band, Chris has got great producer ears too. We both produce. We both... it's like my perfect writing partner. You know what I mean? So,
as I said, it's the universe, man, pulling it all together.
Yeah, and the E thing really exposed itself with the Area Interthrashional. Yeah. Doing all those songs. Like, there's the irritation. There's that edge, that thing, because it's all gone to...
Something about...
And that's cool. People
so you're bringing it back and you're just finding this equilibrium, this balance between...
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I'm all about balance. Anyone that really knows me knows I'm about balance. Yeah. And so, somehow, some way between everybody, the consensus is going to be a record that's going to really balance out.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, listen, I could talk to you all day. I'm just, all day about this stuff, man. But once again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come talk to us here at Voivod TV.
Of course.
And just keep your eyes on Forbidden. There's loads of awesome stuff coming, as you already know from this interview. And I just think incredible things are going to happen in the years to come, guys.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thanks for having us,
Fantastic.
man. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Oran.
Right on, Bloodstock. Woo!
Great.